Assalamu alaikum, hello friends. So today we are going to be doing Bug Club, and also I've done two videos today, like one time to Rockstars, and this one is the Bug Club one. So what we're going to be doing is we're going to be reading a book, and the book I was going to read is this Double Trouble. So it's about a story. Double trouble. Wow, you look just like me, says Oliver. Jack is surprised too, but he's even more shocked when his lookalike neighbor gets him into trouble twice. This looks interesting, actually. Let's see what this is. Meet the author, Dominic Barker. What gave you the idea for this story? I had my identity stolen by a criminal who then committed a crime pretending to me. It caused me no end of trouble trying to prove I was the real me. If you could be someone else for a day, who would it be? I live in Barcelona, so it would have to be Leo Messi on the day of El Casio, the biggest football match in Spain. Did it have to be Lionel Messi? Like, I know Messi is second on the leaderboard, Ronaldo is third, and Pele is like first on the leaderboard. Even though he's dead, he's still the king of football. Because if Messi got up to Pele's level, then like if Messi got to Pele's level, then he'd probably get to be they would actually be at a 50-50. But then if Messi actually got higher than Pele, he would be the king of football. So yeah. What's the naughtiest thing you've ever done? I jumped on a flower arrangement for the Queen's Silver Jubilee when I was 10. Huh? Why would he jump on a flower arrangement which was for the Queen's Silver Jubilee? Can you curl your tongue? I can't. When we did this when I was in high school, 2/3 of the class could and 1/3 couldn't. I think I could do it. But too bad I'm just using another camera thing. So chapter 1, chapter 2, chapter 3, chapter 4, chapter 5, chapter 6, chapter 7, chapter 8. Okay, let's go. Chapter 1. You have got to see this. I know you can curl your tongue, said Jack. And I know you can't, said Shiza, curling her tongue for the 500th time that day. I've got a bigger tongue than you. Na 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 na. Oh, that's what curling a tongue is. Doing that is unique. Shiza laughed. Last week in school, Mr. Brody, their teacher, had made everybody see if they could curl the edges of their tongue. Shiza couldn't, Jack couldn't. She hadn't let him forget it. Let me get back to my game, Shaz, said Jack, picking up the controller. All right. Shiza wandered over to the window for a few moments. Jack's bedroom was filled with the sound of explosions and gunfire then. You have got to see, Shiza told him. Got to see what? Reluctantly, Jack dropped his controller and went to look out the window. All there was to see was a removal van parked over the road and a man and a boy carrying furniture out of it. That's you, said Shiza, nodding in the direction of the boy. Don't be silly. Jack ran out of words. He stared at his new neighbor. It couldn't be. It wasn't. That was someone else. But the someone else looked exactly like him. Let's go and say hello, said Shiza. Chapter 2. You look just like me. Are you sure this is a good idea? Asked Jack as Shiza knocked on the door. They're the only kind I have, said Shiza. The new boy answered close up. He looked even more like Jack. Hello, said Shiza confidently. I'm Shaz. This is Jack. So what, said the boy, not even bothering to look at Jack. We live in the close, explained Shiza. And, said the boy. So do you, said Shiza. The other side of town where we used to live is way better, said the boy. At least I'll still get to go back there for school instead of going to the dump I bet you go too. The boy wasn't being very friendly. Jack decided maybe it was time to go. Come on, Chaz, he said. I don't think he wants. For the first time, the boy looked at Jack. Wow, he said in surprise. You look just like me. No, corrected Jack. You look just like me. Okay, now there's a question. Which words and phrases in the text show you how the boy feels about moving to the close? Use this evidence to help you describe his thoughts and feelings. Type your response in the space provided. He was surprised. Don't argue, boys, said Shiza. You look like each other. She turned to the new boy again. So what's your name? I'm Oliver, he said suddenly, seeming more friendly. Okay, let's hang out, said Shiza. Jack sighed. When Shiza suggested they do something, they normally did it. Chapter 2. I'm not scared. They were sitting in the big tree in Shiza's garden. We could do something with pretend mirrors, suggested Jack. Boring, said Oliver. I know. On Monday we could pretend to go beat each other and go to each other's school and see if we can get through a day without getting found out. Boring, said Jack. That's not boring, said Shiza. That's fantastic. Oliver gave Jack a smug look. It would be so funny in our school to see Oliver being you, said Shiza. But I don't want him to be me, protested Jack, and I don't want to be him. Why not? Said Oliver. Don't you want to be popular for a day? Jack couldn't think of a clever reply fast enough. I just don't think that it's a good idea. That's all, said Jack. Unless you're scared, asked Oliver teasingly. Jack was aware that Shiza was staring at him. Of course I'm not scared, said Jack. Prove it, said Oliver. Jack was trapped. All right, he said. I'll do it. Why is it? Chapter 4. What do you think you are doing? Jack's mobile beeped. One new message. He clicked on it. Are you inside yet, Shaz? It was Monday. Jack was at the gates of Oliver's school wishing he were anywhere else. He felt sure that everybody could tell that he wasn't who he was pretending to be. At least Oliver's uniform fitted him perfectly. They'd swapped in the shed in Shiza's back garden before setting off for each other's school. Jack's mobile beeped again. Everybody here thinks Oliver is you. So funny, Shaz. So Oliver had got away with it. Well, if Oliver could do it, thought Jack then. Oliver Brandon. Jack looked up. A teacher was towering over him. What do you think you are doing? I was just, stammered Jack. Don't give me any of your cheek, young man, he said to the teacher. Just get a move on. Don't talk. Run. He pointed in the direction of the classroom. Jack didn't have any choice. He ran. Chapter 5. What's in your hand? Oliver had told Jack that his place was at the table furthest from the teacher, in the chair closest to the school hamster. Jack sat at it. He thought the other children were giving him funny looks. Could they tell? A teacher swept into the room. Good morning, Miss Lynch. Good morning, Miss Lynch, chorused the children. Good morning, class. How are... The teacher stopped in mid-sentence. Oliver Brandon, what do you think you are doing? After last week's incident with the school hamster, your place is sitting next to my desk. As well as, move now, please. With the eyes of the whole class on him, Jack stood up and walked to the front of the classroom and sat down at a table by the teacher's desk, hoping maybe to find someone friendly. He smiled at the two girls sitting at the same table. They both totally ignored him. But they're just like... Based on what you have read so far, what do you think Oliver is like? Okay. 3, 2, 1. Miss Lynch began to call the register. As she was doing it, Jack spotted a $10 note on the floor. It must have fallen out of someone's bag. Maybe after getting off to such a bad start, he could get back in Miss Lynch's good books by handing it in. He reached under the table and picked up the note. Miss Lynch, Miss Lynch, Miss Lynch. Jack looked up to see one of the girls who had ignored him with her hand in the air, staring right at him. What is it, Emily? Oliver Brandon has Kelly Roundlin's money. Everyone looked at Jack. Is this true, Oliver? Asked Miss Lynch. It's in his hand, miss, cried Emily. Show me what's in your hand, Oliver. Jack, horrified, Jack did as he was told. That's my money, cried Kelly. I lost it this morning. I think you'd better go and explain this to Mr. Henderson, said Miss Lynch. Who? Asked Jack. Don't pretend you don't know who Miss Henderson is, sighed Miss Lynch. You spend more time outside in his office than anywhere else. Chapter 6. Are you Miss Henderson? Miss Henderson, head teacher. Jack gulped and locked on the door. No answer. He took out his mobile and dialed Shizer's number. He had to know what was going on in his school. No reply. Of course, it was class time. Shizer wouldn't be able to answer. Jack wished more than anything he was back in his school, but in his classroom, sitting next to Shizer. But instead, Oliver was. Jack texted Shizer. What's going on, Jack? What do you think you are doing? Jack looked up. The teacher from before was stomping down the corridor towards him. What did I tell you last week, Oliver? I'm not sure, Jack stuttered. Come on, young man, you must remember, thundered the teacher. I told you quite clearly. I can't, admitted Jack. I can't, Mr. Henderson, said the teacher. Are you Mr. Henderson? Asked Jack. Of course I'm Mr. Henderson, bellowed Mr. Henderson. I was Mr. Henderson last week when you were sent to me. I was Mr. Henderson the week before when you were sent to me. And I'm still Mr. Henderson now. Oh, said Jack. Well, that's good because there's been a terrible misunderstanding, you see. Just then his mobile beeped. And what's that in your hand? Demanded Mr. Henderson. Jack looked down at a mobile. Hand it over, Oliver. Now Jack had no chance of finding out what was going on at his own school. Mr. Henderson looked irritated. I hear you've been misbehaving again. Into my office, now! Chapter 7. This has gone too far. In his office, Mr. Henderson was busy listing examples of Oliver's past misbehavior. There was so many that Jack was amazed that Oliver had found the time to fit in so much rule breaking. Then there was the flood in the boys' toilets, continued Mr. Henderson. And today, stealing. I'm going to telephone your parents right now. This has gone too far, thought Jack. I've got to tell him the truth. Mr. Henderson was picking up the phone on this desk. I'm not Oliver Brandon, Jack said. Mr. Henderson hesitated. What did you say? I'm not Oliver Brandon, repeated Jack. I look like him, but I'm not him. Oliver and I live near each other. We're swapping schools today for a joke. Mr. Henderson put the phone down and stared at Jack for a moment in silence. This has to be one of your best stories ever, he said. I suppose you can prove your aunt Oliver. Of course, Jack stopped. Mr. Henderson says that Oliver breaks a lot of school. Which one of the following? Flooding the boys' toilets. He must have done a big fat caca to block the toilet. He did a big fat caca. He was wearing Oliver's school uniform. He'd brought Oliver's school bag filled with Oliver's books to school. He looked exactly like Oliver. He was trapped as Oliver. Mr. Henderson watched Jack squirm. Well, I'm sure you can explain to your parents when they come to collect you that you aren't really their son. Before Mr. Henderson could pick up on the phone, it rang. Oh, hello, sir, he said. It was obviously someone important. Mr. Henderson swiveled his chair round so the back was on towards Jack and carried on talking. On Mr. Henderson's deck, Jack's confiscated mobile beeped. Carefully, Jack reached for it and clicked on his inbox. You've got to come here. Oliver's gone crazy. Going to flood the boys' toilets at break time. Shaz. Oh God. Based on what you have found so far, what do you predict will be happening at Jack's school? Click on a sentence and write why.
Oliver is beat.
Jack knew that Oliver had done it before. That meant he could do it again. The back of Mr. Henderson's chair was still towards him. Frantically, Jack sent a reply. Try to stop him. Coming now. Mr. Henderson was still on the phone. Jack stood up, tiptoed silently to the door, opened it and ran. Chapter 8. Bet you can't do this. Jack ran the whole way from Oliver's school, more than 2 miles. He rushed through the school's gates and found Shiza in the playground. I tried to stop him, said Chaz, but he's gone into the one place in school. I can't go the boys' toilet. Hey, what are you doing in this school? Jack and Shiza turned round, coming towards with Mr. Brody for a moment. Jack couldn't work out why he was asking the question, but then he remembered he was wearing the wrong school uniform. Mr. Brody thought he was someone else. There was no time to explain. Come on, Chaz, cried Jack. They sprinted away from the teacher, zigzagging through the crowded playground. Hey, Mr. Brody, spilling his break time coffee as he began to give a chase. But Jack and Shiza kept going through the playground, into the main school building, down the corridor, past a yeah, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 classrooms. And around the corner there were the boys' toilets. Okay. They charged into the toilets and came to a sudden stop. Oliver had already stuffed every plug hole full of toilet paper, and now he was running along the line of wash basins, opening every tap as wide as it could go. Stop it, shouted Jack. Oliver spun round. What are you doing here? He asked. You were supposed to be me for the whole day. I've decided I want myself back, so stop this, Oliver. Right now. Oliver shook his head. No way, this is fantastic. I get to be as naughty as I like, and somebody else gets into trouble. He reached the last tap and turned it on to full. Already the first basin was about to overflow. Jack rushed to it to turn it off. But as Jack's hand touched the tap, Mr. Brody appeared, huffing and puffing. What on earth is going on here? Oliver got his words out first. Sir, this boy from another school is flooding the toilets. Mr. Brody looked at Jack. He was wearing the uniform of a different school, and he had his hand on the tap. I was just going to come and tell you about it, sir, said Oliver. The similarity of the two boys suddenly struck Mr. Brody. Now he was very confused. He looked at Jack, then looked at Oliver, then back at Jack. Then he made up his mind. Shiza and Jack, I think you two had better return to class, and you need to explain what are you doing in the school. Vandalizing the toilets, said Mr. Brody to Jack. Jack and Shiza looked at each other in horror. If Oliver got out the toilets, then he could run out rough and get away with everything, and Jack would get over with the blame. With a smug smile, Oliver started to walk out the toilets. As he passed Jack, he couldn't resist sticking his tongue out. It gave Shiza an idea. Bet you can't do this, she said. She stuck out her tongue, curling it at the edges. Of course I can, said Oliver scornfully, and he curled at the edges of his tongue. Sir, shouted Shiza. Don't you remember in class last week? You told us all to try that, and Jack was in the group that couldn't do it. Oliver started walking faster. You're right, murmured Mr. Brody. So that means that I'm the real Jack, shouted Jack. With a guilty look, Oliver made a dart for the door, but Mr. Brody cut off his space. You, young man, have got a lot of explaining to do. This one. Girls should not use the boys' toilets. This is right. Okay, not this, and this. After school, Jack and Shiza were sitting in a tree in her garden. I like being me again, said Jack. You're better at being Jack than Oliver was, Shiza agreed. Don't you think we'll be in much trouble? No, said Shiza, because in the end we did save the boys' toilets thanks to my rubbish tongue, said Jack. He stuck out his tongue that still wouldn't curl. Na 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 na, said Shiza. This time they both laughed. Um, huh? So he would do the right thing, boring and unpopular. This. Okay, so in the comments, put what you think it is. Huh? Damn. Okay, this is all of the story. This is 21 minutes long. Okay, so that's enough for today. Thank you and